Hello, hello. Welcome to Reading Time. My name's Time, and this week we're reading The Worst Witch series by Jill Murphy. Let's get to reading. The Worst Witch series is an early chapter book series with 8 books telling the tale of Mildred Hubble, who is a student at Miss Cackle's Academy for Witches. Mildred always seems to get into trouble, even with the best intentions, and these books detail her 1st through 4th years at the Academy. In each book, there ends up being some sort of problem that Mildred ends up resolving spectacularly in the end. The first book was published in 1974, and the last book was published in 2018, so this is a long-running series. The first book is The Worst Witch. The second book is The Worst Witch Strikes Again. The third book is A Bad Spell for the Worst Witch. The fourth book is The Worst Witch All at Sea. The fifth book is The Worst Witch Saves the Day. The sixth book is The Worst Witch to the Rescue. The seventh book is The Worst Witch and the Wishing Star. And finally, the 8th and last book is First Prize for the Worst Witch. Overall, this is a very good early chapter book. It still contains quite a lot of pictures and the text is large, and so these books are actually pretty easy to get through quickly. I easily read each of these within one sitting. They usually took maybe about an hour to read through each. Now, obviously, it would take longer for a younger reader to read this independently. However, I do think that it would be well suited for those early independent chapter books. Overall, I'm going to be giving this series a 4-star rating. I think that for the age group that it is intended for, it is a good series and a good introductory series to some other series that I'll go into a little bit later. It also teaches some good ideas and has fun and lovable characters. There isn't a whole lot of content to be aware of in this book. The only thing that I could really think of is that Mildred has an arch rival at the school named Ethel. And in every book, Ethel does what she can to cause trouble for Mildred. Ethel is the straight-A student who is extremely talented at just about everything that she does. And as such, she is envious of the attention that Mildred does when Mildred ends up saving the school or doing these miraculous things or getting in trouble but then getting away with it because she did a miraculous thing. And at some points, Ethel's actions against Mildred are very cruel and potentially harmful to either Mildred or various animals. So there are instances of bullying in this series from Ethel especially. With that being said, I would put this at a 2nd through 5th grade reading range. I think it's especially good for those early chapter book readers, but it can follow along through elementary school and even potentially in middle school if this is a series that someone is interested in. Now, there are a lot of similarities between this series and the Harry Potter series. I thought it as soon as I was reading the first book that there were just a lot of things that reminded me of Harry Potter. However, this series would have been successful and well known by the time J.K. Rowling was writing her series. And don't get me wrong, I do enjoy the Harry Potter series quite a bit. I'm not suggesting that these ideas were stolen or anything. These series definitely are still very distinct from each other, but there definitely are similarities that would make this series a good introductory series to then go over into Harry Potter. And some of these similarities might just come from the fact that the setting for both book series is very similar. They're both set at a magic school that is a castle. They have a somewhat strict potions teacher and a somewhat head in the clouds headmaster or headmistress. Our main character also seems to get into trouble at the end of each book, but then it resolves in some miraculous way. At times, our main character saves the school itself. Our main character also tends to break quite a few rules and gets away with it. The rival of our main character is blonde and stuck up, has a long family history, and is loved by the potions teacher. Our main character also has two best friends, one who is a little bit more studious and follows the rules a bit more, and one that is definitely less so. But as I said, these series are still distinct enough from each other that I wouldn't say J.K. Rowling stole ideas as much as maybe she was inspired by the Worst Witch series. And not all of the Worst Witch books came out before Harry Potter, and I do think that the books do get more distinct from each other the later into the Worst Witch series you get. Now, these books have some really interesting ideas that I think would be worthwhile to touch on if you were to read this with a younger reader. I think the main theme that you can really learn from this series is that you can be successful even if you're not good at academics, and that overall growth is what is important. Mildred is generally not very good at anything at the beginning of the series. And by the end, she puts in the hard work and dedication to become pretty successful at a lot of what she does. And even when she does get into trouble, it's not for malicious intentions. Overall, I think that she's a great protagonist, especially if you read the whole series and see her growth throughout the books. For the poster for this week, we have a witch's hat right down here in the center of the poster. Let me know what you think of the Worst Witch series in the comments below. If you are not already, feel free to subscribe to the channel and follow me on Facebook or Instagram for updates about what I'm reading. And as always, have a marvelous week and a wonderful read.